Got it. Did we rest? Stop interrupt. Hello everybody, welcome to Friday 420. Happy 420, whatever. Today's guest will be one of the warriors in our guild. Sorry. One of the warriors in our guild joined during Cataclysm and will be venturing into Mr. Pandaria with us. His name is Juveynile. AKA Preston, and here he is. Hello.
What's up?
How's it going, man?
Pretty good. How about you?
Life is treating me well. So, why don't you introduce yourselves to everybody? Tell us about yourself.
My name is Preston. I live in Dallas, Texas. Actually, Mesquite, Texas. 23. And pretty much just play WoW.
Mesquite, Texas? Is that a real place?
Yeah, man. Mesquite, Texas? Yeah. Mesquite.
Oh, Mesquite.
Yeah, Mesquite.
I thought you said skeet, like Skeeter
No,
from Doug.
yeah, no, Mesquite.
Okay. Very nice. So why don't we start at the beginning? So, well, tell us more about your WoW playing. How long have you been playing WoW?
I've been playing on and off since it released, basically. I remember playing the beta. I think I got to like level 10. I gave my beta away when it was first coming out to someone else, and I bought it when it released. And I've been playing pretty much on and off since then. Pretty much taking breaks in between for FPS games. That's pretty much what I did anytime I wasn't like playing WoW. So.
Okay, and how long have you been in the raiding scene?
In vanilla, I actually rated pretty hardcore with Void from Mugfall towards like the end of, like during AQ40. I was like, I think we finished top 5 US maybe on Cthulhu, which was like, you can't really count it because that fight was bugged, and so basically it was just whoever logged on the quickest and killed it on patch day,
Right.
or whenever it got hotfixed or whatever. But yeah, that was probably the highest I rated then. And then BC was pretty much just PvP. Season 1 and Season 2 and 5s. I think I got like 2,200 in 5s. And quit pretty much the game after that. I didn't really PvE at all in Burning Crusade. And the Wrath of the Lich King, I rated it a little bit when it very first came out. And then a little bit during Ulduar. And then a little bit like late ICC. So pretty much I missed all of Wrath basically, minus Ulduar.
No, unfortunately, Juvie doesn't have a cam to answer that question in chat. And during this entire time, were you playing your warrior, or were you playing other classes as well?
The very first class I ever made was my warrior. And obviously it was when the game first released, and warriors were the most annoying class to try to level. I think I made it to like level 10, and I deleted it because it was impossible to play that class. I pretty much died, I don't know, every other time I pulled a mob, pretty much it felt like. And then after that, I deleted my warrior, rolled a hunter, and that was my main all through vanilla until basically BC is when I actually made this hunter in Burning Crusade, basically.
So you're saying you were bad at warrior in vanilla? You couldn't
Yeah, I
even
was.
level it?
No, yeah, I was bad.
You were so bad you couldn't even level it.
And this is like, yeah, I was, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I died so many times. So.
And when did the warrior come back into your life?
At the end, near the end of Vanilla. I want to say like maybe Nax is out, or maybe a little bit before that. I remember maybe like the end of BWL right before AQ40 came out. Maybe I can't remember exactly when, but I was leveling. I leveled my warrior then, and I basically bought him a bunch of BOEs. So like I told myself I have to level because I just spent so much gold on these BOEs. So I got to level this guy.
You're all in at this point.
Yeah, you're all in. So yeah, that's pretty much how that warrior got made.
Nice. So, what were you doing? What was happening with you between Wrath and Cataclysm? Pretty much right before you joined the guild.
But so, okay, so basically, like I said, I've taken breaks for FPS games. I played COD4 competitively, or professionally, I guess, if you want to say it. I don't know, semi-professionally, I guess. I got free trips to Europe, and I've been to South Korea, been to Denmark, a bunch of other random places, basically in Europe. And that's pretty much what I did anytime I wasn't playing WoW. And then when Kata came out, I decided to come back and play some Kata. And I raided with basically some FPS friends, me and a few other people. Bond, Maglio, people that have either been in BL or been around BL for a bit now, I guess. Mm-hmm. And we made a guild, 10-man guild when Kata came out. I think we finished US 20th or something like that through the first, like through all normal modes. We were US 20th, I think. And then 10-man hard modes in T11 were like impossible. Like outside of like one or two bosses, the rest of them were like near impossible compared to 25-man. 25-man was like a lot easier. So we ended up trying to make a 25-man guild. I think we got like 5 out of 12 or something like that, 6 out of 13 maybe. Mm-hmm. And we basically died off after that because making the switch to 25-man is like, it's pretty hard switching from 10-man. Me and a few others, basically the officers, people who were in the 10-man, we broke off and joined Out of Line, who's on Storm Reaver Horde, or were on Storm Reaver Horde before they merged. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we raided with them, and then that's where I pretty much met Riggins, was when I was raiding with those guys. Rig came over and helped us with Sinestra and whatnot. So we decided that basically I'd been talking to Rig and I wanted to join BL for a while, but you guys had two warriors already, you and Diggs already, so you didn't really need another one. Warriors didn't really bring anything. That was before they had Rally and Cry and all that stuff, so you guys didn't need warriors. And then you guys had a little misfortune with one of the problems with botting, I guess, and a bunch of people ended up quitting. That was when Rift was coming out, I guess. So yeah, a bunch of people quitting and people getting banned. So
yeah, the bans.
That's when Diggs decided to go.
Archaeology has cursed this guild with lots of bans, so
yeah,
good times.
And then Diggs decided to go Feral Druid, so Warrior Spot opened up, and I applied and got in.
Yeah, that was around we lost a lot of people, and yeah, you guys got in. So what was tell me about that story? Actually, I want to know more about this. Why did Rig come help you guys on Sinestra? I mean, did he know you guys through Forlorn Legacy, like that server, or was that like what sort of did that? Because if you guys were doing the 10-man and you met Rig through there, he was already on Illidan. What circumstances made that happen?
We played on the server he used to play in. He used to play on Storm Reaver. That was the server he played on.
Is that where Forlorn Legacy was? Or
no,
was that a different guild?
That's Duality. The guild used to be a GM of Duality.
Oh, okay.
And so basically, yeah. And then Bond, Maglio, and a few other people that were raiding with us raided with Rig in Duality. They were in his guild with him. So
okay.
That's pretty much where they knew Rig from, and that's how I met Rig through them basically. So and then we went to Out of Line, and like we weren't killing Sinestra, which was going really bad. And Rig's like, yo, I'll come help you guys. Just get me someone to tank on. So we got him a random DK to play.
And
he came over. Okay. Yeah, he came over and he played Sinestra progression for us basically.
Wow, I'm surprised he'd want to go through that twice. He must have really liked you guys.
I just think he likes raiding, man.
Yeah, that's probably it. So now what made you? So it was Rig essentially, I guess, the catalyst for getting you to apply and join to BL, or was there something about us that you knew before that sort of also enticed you?
I mean, obviously, like I said, I've played since Vanilla and BC, so I mean, I've heard Blood Legion around forever, basically. You guys have been around. at least somewhat high for the longest time. And yeah, I mean, I would like my thing is like if I play a game, I want to go 110%, man. Like I want to be the best. I don't want to like play a subparly. So I mean, if I was gonna play this game hardcore, which is what I was planning on doing, kata, I wanted to go all the way to the top and take it insanely hardcore, and that's what pretty much Rig like the way he is. He's really he's into it. He loves playing the game. He's like loves getting other people to like play hardcore, and,
Yeah.
and that basically made me want to app and play with you guys really badly.
Yeah, he's definitely got a contagious personality when it comes to enthusiasm. So, what was your trial like in BL? How was that experience for you?
My trial, like, I actually went pretty smooth. I had a few air balls. I think, okay, one of them that, like, I honestly had no clue you could do this, but on Nefarian, when the ad spawned the little purple circle thingy, I guess if you're inside of that, when it lands, you die. I had no clue about this, so I was, like, standing in one
Oh
deep.
yeah.
And I like, got face melted by that thing, and that was a running joke for, I don't know, a few weeks at least.
Yeah.
About don't pull a juvie. So I mean that's about the only major fuck up I can think of that I had. Other than that, I went pretty smoothly. I think I made member. I mean, I would have made member a lot sooner if it wasn't for Maglio, because Maglio, I joined with Maglio, and they didn't want to give me trial or member before Maglio got his, because I would be able to read Maglio's
Right,
app
yeah,
thread and all that.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So I think I would have made member in like 3 weeks or something. It ended up being like a month and a half maybe. So
Yeah, that's understandable. Uh, Overall, was there anything you wish you could have changed doing your app?
I mean not really. I think it went pretty well, and I definitely enjoyed raiding a ton with you guys. And I don't think there was really anything I would have changed, to be honest. Is there something you think I should have changed?
Uh, Not really. I don't know. Maybe not be female orc.
What? Get out of here, man. So much better than Mel.
No, it was actually cool when you joined, because the last time we had a female orc, it was Sarita. I don't know if anyone's told you any stories about him, but he was with us I was with him basically from Next till I think beginning of Wrath, around that time, and he finished. And he was one of the only orc females I ever knew, so it was actually not almost like a familiar feeling seeing another female orc in the guild. But now apparently everyone's female orc. There was actually a time when I was the only orc in the guild. It was really
Maybe
weird.
the hot stuff, man. It's the race to be now.
Hot stuff. Yeah. So, going on from tier 11, now we're approaching Firelands. Now, Firelands is the first tier that you've done everything with BL, from test realms to learning fights on there, strategizing, whatever, doing hard modes. Tell us about your Firelands experience. What was that like for you?
Firelands, for me personally, I mean, it was pretty good. I got obviously really frustrated with how things are going towards the end. I mean, we didn't get near where we wanted to be. We ended up, I mean, you can go look at WoW progress with that tier, and we did really bad for where, we've been talking about we wanted to go. And I was really pissed at Rig for a bit there, because, like, when I came over, he said, we're competing for, U.S. first. That's our goal. And it just didn't seem like the entire guild was on board with that same sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it was like transition to where, you guys like were normal, 4 nights is what you guys normally used to do, right? It was 4 night,
It was
7 to 12.
5 nights.
Yeah, 5 nights, yeah. Which, I mean, back then was fine. I think nowadays you have to raid 6 to 7 days a night to be able to compete for, world first, to be honest. And raid a lot of hours, as like the Europeans and Asian guilds do. So, I mean, I was definitely a little angry about that. And, but I mean, we ended up, losing a few people after that tier, picking up replacements who ended up, turning out to be really good. So
now that's actually a good thing to sort of touch on real quick, especially since you're obviously newer to the guild. Pretty much, I mean, as you can imagine, like you said, BL's sort of been up there for a while. and you could see the trend. Basically, we grew as each tier hit and each expansion hit, and like you were saying, people quit. You bring in people, and not everyone's on the same mindset. If it was your decision, would you, if you would you drop the people that were around if they can't commit to the mindset, or would you just slowly trickle it up like this? Like where are you coming from? Like what is it like nowadays in the guild?
I mean, nowadays it's pretty much where we wanted it to be. I mean, everyone aside from 1 to 2 people are basically insanely hardcore. We have like everybody has like 5 characters they play. I mean, it's pretty much where I think Rig had wanted it from the beginning. It just took a while to get here, obviously. And I mean, you want to say that, like, I would want to say that I would, purge and recruit all these new people instantly, but it's not the way it's going to be able to work. It's not the way. That's not the way it works. You can't just, kick the people you think are too casual or whatever, and randomly expect to pick up all these good hardcore players out of nowhere. I mean, you're gonna have to work your way up. So.
Right. So, I mean, that's essentially what happened. Like little
Yeah.
by little, people dip out and whatnot. So in Firelands, actually, you got to sort of, because of my situation, I wasn't able to be there the whole time. So I was essentially, I didn't really force myself in anywhere. And you were basically taking the reins as the main DPS warrior. What was that like for you? Is there any special? You also needed to tank for Firelands. Is that something you expected?
I did not. I didn't expect a tank. Obviously, you're working at world's first Bethelac tank here, world first tanking weapon also. But no, I didn't really expect a tank. But I mean, obviously, being in a guild like this, you're gonna have to at least be semi-decent at multiple things. And as far as the main DPS warrior, I was the only DPS warrior at that point when you had, took a step back from progression, basically. I don't think we didn't have anybody else. It was just me and you at that point.
Yeah.
And you weren't able to commit all the time we needed for most of the times. I mean, you were there, I think during Bell Rock, right? You got there during Bell Rock later in the night on that
Right.
first night.
Yeah.
And then I think you were there for a little bit of that. And then I think, were you in for the kill on Bell Rock? I don't
Yeah, I
remember.
was in for the kill.
Okay, you were in for the kill.
Yeah.
And then were you in for Domo too, or
I did.
no?
I did
I
most
think you
of
left
the
that night,
progression.
right?
I did a lot of
Yeah.
progression on it, and I think I wasn't there for the kill. The only
Yeah.
kill I saw was Bellrock. I mean, you gotta understand. I got home from work. You guys had
Yeah,
4
late.
world firsts already.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm just like having a heart attack. Like they're already like halfway done with the instance. I just got home from work. I'm like, what is going on, man? Like, yeah. At that point, I really questioned if I'd be able to keep up with the growth of the guild, like its goals changing into, with what I was going on with my real life, with work and all that. But yeah, what was it? I had a thought. Yeah. Anyway, so what was some of your favorite fights in Fireland? What were some of the ones you really liked?
Hands
working on?
down, Rag. I mean, that was my favorite fight I've ever done in this game. Period. I mean, I obviously I didn't do Zero Light. I mean, I didn't do Kill Jaden. I didn't do Maru. So I mean, I can't comment on those. But as far as the ones I've done, Seathun and all that, I've Rag's by far the best fight I've done since raiding. And I was just the amount you needed to squeeze out. I mean, you needed to go down to 3 healers. You needed a bare minimum healing comp. You needed to pull as much single target DPS as you could during phase 3, but then you also needed enough AoE DPS for phase 2. So I mean, you pretty much had to push anything and everything, and the fight was so tight before nerfs that like if someone died during phase 3, you weren't making the push. I mean that's how close it was. It was so close. You pretty much had to have everyone alive. If someone died, you're essentially wiping the fight at that point. And people died all the time. It happened a lot. I mean, that was the one fight to where like straight up your personal skill matters in this fight because of you could die to multiple things, and if you died, you pretty much wiped the entire raid just from your death.
Yeah. Just a quick to address chat. Juvie will answer your questions afterwards. So just stick around for Q&A after that. Now Firelands was definitely tough. Rag was definitely tough. I got to help out with that. I mean, not too much. I mean, my gear basically wasn't caught up, and I got replaced every time I got plugged in when someone else walked in. But it was definitely, I think, my favorite fight of the expansion overall. Honestly, I feel like the Firelands stuff was really good. Where do you rate Firelands as far as, I mean, Cat is pretty much done at this point. How do you rate the tiers all the way through?
I'd have to put DS honestly last.
Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean it. We did good this tier, but like the fights are so simple. You stand still majority of the fights, and you don't move. You just stand there and DPS. A lot of them don't have run around and it's not a lot of it's a lot of raid teamwork and not so much as personal. Like I said, Rag was a lot of personal. You got to stay alive or you wipe the raid. Here it's if someone fucks up, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Right.
If someone dies, it's not you're not instant wiping pretty much the raid. So, and then T11, I didn't really get to do it like progression style. So I mean,
Right.
out of all those, I'd probably say Firelands 1, then T11, then DS last.
Now, being that Firelands, you're considering that the best tier. We obviously got the privilege to be able to compete at the BlizzCon live raid against Vodka with a race to Firelands. What was that like for you? Obviously, with your background of competitive gaming, how did the news break it down for us? You heard the news. Let's go from there. What was that like?
I was actually pretty excited. I thought it'd definitely be really sweet. And I think it definitely would have been a lot more enjoyable if I was there at BlizzCon with the race. But I mean, even being at home, I mean, I still enjoyed it a ton. It was definitely something that, I definitely find really fun. I mean, like I said, competition is the reason I play games essentially.
And how would you compare that victory or that experience to the other ones that you've had?
It was definitely. I mean, and WoW is probably the best, the most I've done for WoW. As far as like other FPS games, I mean, it's a little different because it's 25 people. With other FPS games, it's usually just 5 people. So it's a lot more personal than it is with 25 people. But I was definitely ecstatic when we won, and it was hilarious to see Rig go insane, to go nuts. It was great to see that.
Were you proud of me for not dying?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you did good, man. You did really good.
Everyone was like, Eric, don't die, don't die. And then I think Pix and Zonker died. Zonker, I guess, I don't think it was all his fault.
Dude,
he's gonna bug me about that all the time.
There is so much stuff for that where Rig lagged out mid-attempt. They were
Right.
trying to get me to go tank.
Yeah, the drama was crazy. I remember Absalom started freaking out because Rig's offline. He's trying to help take charge. That was good times. Oh man! But why'd you touch on Dragon Soul a little bit? What was that like? Obviously, little disappointment the fact that you guys didn't get first in the world. I mean, getting that far. What was? Give us your assessment on Dragon Soul.
Yeah, I mean, Dragon Soul, obviously, you went into it with a lot of drama just surrounding, the bans, the LFR bans, and all that. And,
Right.
and I mean, I definitely thought they should have been banned, or maybe not banned. I thought that they should have their gear taken away. I didn't really think they should be banned because I'm all about competition. I want it to be fair, and I wanted to be able to compete with the repeating, the people who hold, the top 3 already.
Mm-hmm.
Top 3 world. So I mean, I was a little disappointed they ended up getting banned for an entire week. But they did do something that they knew blatantly was the wrong thing to do, and they still did it. So
Right.
and then as far as actual progression, I mean, we did really well. I think we had everything world first except for War Master up to Spine. I think Vodka ended up getting War Master like 5 minutes before we did, something like that. And then Spine, obviously, like people thought maybe Altraxian was going to be, a cock block, but I was pretty sure that Spine, just by reading the abilities, that fight was going to be ridiculously insane, and it obviously turned out to be that. And I mean, we tried a few different strats, obviously, and most people know that we were doing the Moonkin thing, on that fight,
Mm-hmm.
and where where the ads didn't explode and do damage, but we were doing 3 pops, so we didn't really stack the group. That's one of the things that we had bad from Firelands that we didn't really do right, because like in Firelands, Double Daughters and everything, they were the one that ruled that tier. Shadow Priest, Warlocks ruled that tier in
Right.
Firelands. And then when DS came out, I mean, it was pretty much all about like arcane mages and rogues. You know what I mean? So like we only had 2 mages, I think, with a staff, which you needed more than that for Spine. During progression, you needed like 4 or 5 mages with staffs, and you needed good comp with rogues. You needed like 2, 3, 4 rogues just to stack enough to do 2 pops
Right.
on every single pop. So yeah, I mean that's. I think if we would have tried to go for a 2 pop, I mean we knew that you had to kite the ads. We knew that was going to be, the solution to the end, but with doing 3 pops per, it was just too many bloods. You know what I mean? Like, just ended up doing way too many. I mean, we got really close one attempt. I think we were down to 30%.
Mm-hmm.
30% on the last tendon, and when we wiped, and then the next day they like hot fixed it. Man, I don't think I've ever been more emo in my entire life than when that happened. I was ready to give up, man, because it was like we were so close. We were, it was gonna be dead the next day, and then you wake up and it's been fixed, hot fixed to where that doesn't work anymore. So you pretty much had to relearn the fight completely. We weren't really sure how to go with it because we didn't have the classes to stack, so.
Right. Yeah, I understand what that could be like. The whole class stacking. I personally, I don't like class stacking, but it's just a requirement nowadays, I guess. I mean, you have to be ready to do whatever it takes. What was it like? I mean, you guys were basically obviously the front runners, and the LFR bands were here and there, whatnot, but ultimately everybody was at Spine at the same time. I mean, everyone was working on Spine, the European guilds, all the U.S. guilds, and then all of a sudden, the Korean guild comes out of nowhere with their stacked comp. Like, they realized what they were supposed to do to beat this type of fight. What was that like for you? What kind of emotions were you and the guild feeling at that time?
Like I said, I think they killed it a day or two after, maybe 3 days after the hotfix. So I mean, I was pissed, because like, I mean, we had the fight killed and they hotfixed it. I mean, we were thinking, maybe they didn't hotfix it for Koreans. You know what I mean? Like with how they killed it, because we didn't know. I mean, there's no logs. You can't talk to any of the Koreans.
Yeah.
We don't know anyone over there, so it was just pure speculation. But we thought maybe they didn't get a hotfix. So they killed it without a hotfix, and I mean that had everyone pissed. That like we're like Blizzard's gonna hotfix their or not or hotfix ours or not hotfix theirs. And there's some random drama like that. But I mean, obviously the video came out later, and they turned out to do it legit. So I mean, I was like, hats off to them for doing that. But yeah, they had an insanely stacked raid. Resto Shamans, they were able to figure out that Spirit Link, destroys for that fight, and it's definitely something you should be getting Resto Shamans in. I mean, because before that, Resto Shamans weren't really known as, this like amazing class. They were probably known as one of the weaker healers with Druids, them and Druids. So,
Right.
it's definitely something we missed out on. And then I think, stacking the classes and getting 2 pops. I mean, we knew it was possible to get 2 pops, but we knew you would have to stack. We just didn't have the classes, and we thought we could kill it with the strat we were using currently, which obviously turned out not to be the case. So.
How do you feel about that? I mean, for the majority of at least my raiding career and perhaps yours, dealing with encounters, you sort of dealt more with how do I defeat, what's the strategy to defeat this, rather than not only what the strategy is, but what classes do I need at this point? Where what classes are gonna let me do this? I mean, between Wrath and Kata, they really tried to emphasize, the homogenization of all the classes, but obviously they failed to do so. And Spine is the perfect example. How does that make you feel? What's your assessment of that?
I mean, honestly, I would love to see, you don't have to stack, but that's just not where the game's headed. Like, just with I mean, just the way the classes are, I mean, you're never going to get everything exactly the same. And the way, rating is, and people are rating 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're doing, hard out, like, all the way, I mean, people going all the way, you might as well just take it the next step and go all the way and stack classes. That's why alts are gigantic now. And pretty much it's, you do anything to get number one within the legal, circle. So, I mean, it's legal to stack. So, I mean, people are going to stack classes. I mean, I would definitely wish it wasn't, but it's not changing. Whatever class is the best, that's what people are going to get in that fight. Just like Rag, people were stacking Boomkins for the Roars and Phase 2 AoE. So,
what are some of the main ults that you use in your arsenal?
right now, obviously my main's my Warrior. I have my most geared character is a Shaman, who I play Ellie/Resto. And I actually enjoy, I mean, I enjoy my Ellie because as an Ellie Shaman, it's basically a melee at range because you can run around while lightning bolt. And for me, I love melee 1,000 times more than I love range. I don't like having to stand still and cast this like 3-second cast. You know what I mean? I don't enjoy that. I love being able to move and attack,
Right.
which is why I like Melee Shaman. And then it used to be, a Boomkin used to be my third or second, and I gave that class up. I mean, it's like I said, I don't enjoy casters, so I ended up leveling up a Ret Paladin, and now that's my like number 2 or 3 alt. And I enjoy that Ret a ton. I like it a lot. And I even thought about maybe, main changing to a Ret because we have so many Warriors. But I mean, we already have 2 Rets as is, so, doing that's not really going to do any good. So, And then, I mean, I have pretty much everything at 80 minus a Warlock and a DK. I'll have the Mage 85 pretty soon. So, and I don't have any interest in playing a DK.
Okay. Now, what is your overall? Let's talk about your Warrior class. What do you think about Warriors in Cataclysm between all the specs, arms, fury, and even if you got a chance to tank before Kata, maybe how you feel Warrior tanking was since you got a chance to do that on progression as well.
Yeah, I've honestly never really tanked outside of 5-mans here or there, but tanking, honestly, I enjoy them a lot. I mean, there's not a lot of defensive abilities, like a DK where you gotta like keep active, abilities, but there's definitely a lot you gotta hit. There's definitely, a decent amount of abilities compared to a Pally or a Druid who pretty much just spam, like 3 buttons. So, and then DPS early on T11, they were good damage. They weren't really great. So we pretty much needed something to help us get a raid spot. We didn't have anything. We brought decent damage, but not amazing damage. So I mean, there were other classes who did the same damage and brought something better, more survivability. Warriors had Warriors even still are probably one of the worst survivability classes, just because to go defensive we lose all our offense. You gotta use shield wall. You gotta put on a one-hander and a shield. So yeah, I mean, we ended up getting Last Stand. That helped a lot with getting a raid spot. And then T12, yeah. Warriors were really, really good. Fury was amazing. Obviously, that's the spec I enjoy playing the most. Fury was really good. Arms was pretty bad because they ended up nerfing Arms a lot after T11. And then after T12, going into T13, they nerfed Fury Warriors a lot. And Arms became amazing just because of the scaling with weapon damage and all that. So, yeah, Warriors over on Kata, I enjoyed them a lot. I love the movement. Heroic Leap, Intercept, Intervene, Heroic Fury, Intercept again. All that's great. So that's pretty much why I play my Warriors, for the movement.
And what between Arms and Fury, you lean more towards Fury. Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, I enjoy Fury a lot more, but the changes they're doing in Mop actually look pretty fun. So
What is it about Fury that you enjoy more than Arms?
Arms is so clunky right now, man. You get like the stance macros, or like the having to like line it up to where you hit overpower twice in a row. That way you don't have to switch back and forth. You want to get your overpower down to like 5 seconds or 4 seconds before you hit it, so you can just do overpower, and then Mortal Strike. And I mean that's not, I don't know, it's really clunky the way it is. And Fury is a lot more smooth. And Fury, you have to you have to watch your rage really well. If if you mess up rage and you don't have enough rage for like Colossus Mass, Heroic Strike, you're pretty much nerfing your damage by a ton. So.
Hmm. Yeah, the macros for Arms is definitely not the best, and you can't always line up the overpowers together like that. Like especially if you're trying to do other stuff. Also, I can understand that. How do you rate sort of Warriors now in Kata compared to the other expansions? You said you played Warrior basically from Burning Crusade till Wrath. Is that right?
Yeah.
And in Wrath, maybe not doing the rating thing, but essentially, did you still played some Wrath? Is that right?
Yeah. I played Wrath Rating in Oldor, and it's funny. I actually played Arms back then. I loved Arms back then.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I didn't play Fury until ICC. I played Arms pretty much all through Oldor and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's funny. I honestly can't even remember why I liked Arms so much back then. But yeah, that was a spec I played a ton. And the changes, I mean, in vanilla, I mean, Warriors are pretty much, the only class that could tank, basically, and they were actually pretty good DPS too. Is 3120 Mortal Strike, or 3110, or I don't, or 2110. I don't even remember what it was either way. But yeah, Mortal Strike back then. So, and then BC, I just PvP'd, played season 1, 2 PvP. So all I did was Arms. So.
Oh, okay. So, during Dragon Soul progression, were you mostly Fury, or did you play Arms as well? Or was Arms not as good? What was it? What was better during progression? There's a better question.
During progression, I mean, they were actually a lot closer than they are now during progression. I mean, once Arms got BIS, it pulled ahead by a lot because of weapon damage scaling and all that, or whatever. And so I played Fury for every fight, but Yorsage, Hagara. But basically, those two fights, Yorsage and Hagara, because those are ads central, ads galore. So you pretty much Blade Storm, destroyed that fight. That was by far the best, spec, pretty much probably in that fight. Period. I mean, the only thing that was probably even close at that time were like maybe Boomkins and Mages. So.
All right.
And then for a Spine, obviously, Fury was by far and away better than Arms, just because of the amount of bursts you can get with Death Wish and Wreck and all that up. And they were up, every other tendon, basically.
Now, one of the things, since I came back, I started noticing people doing is right now, for Fury, people have mastery sets they use to pre-pop Death Wish. Could you explain that and sort of give us your feelings on that whole concept?
That actually was around in Firelands. People did it in Firelands too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. It's basically, I mean, because in Firelands, that's when they released the Moonwell Chalice. That mastery trinket. I'm sure you know because you played your Warlock. Mm-hmm. Basically, that was like a 1700 mastery trinket that you could pop with Death Wish. And basically, what you do is you pop Death Wish pre-pull with your mastery set on, and then switch back to your normal gear, to where you get I think it's like they ended up getting like 70% or 60% damage increase on Death Wish instead of 30%. Like mine's 30% right now. So, they were end up getting, 60, 70%, which, I mean, if you lose 3 seconds, 4 seconds of that, I mean, you're still getting a huge damage increase.
All right.
So, I mean, I don't do it. I mean, it's honestly like just people do it just to pad numbers, get high numbers. I mean, it obviously obviously is a damage increase, but I've set parses without it all through Firelands. So
Do you think it's something that should have been, well, uh, essential? Do you think it would sort of be more essential during progression? Like, did you use it during progression, or
no,
was
I
it?
didn't. I didn't even use the gem regression because I never did the Fireland dailies, and it's pretty much doing the mastery build is essentially useless unless you have Moonwell Chalice. It's like the only thing that really makes it worth it, just because it's so much mastery just from one trinket. And
Hmm.
I never did those dailies ever, so I never ended up doing it. I recently just actually got the Moonwell Chalice, and I thought about maybe putting one together, but at this point, it's not even worth it.
So as of right now, you mentioned arms as more DPS, but like say on like a fight on Ultraxian where it's just single target, is arms still better?
Yeah, Arms is better by like 6K, 7K, pretty easy.
Now is arms better with the pre-mastery set,
Yeah, Arms is still better.
even with that?
Yeah, yeah, even with that, Arms is.
Wow, that's interesting.
The pre-master set, I think, is only, depending on how, I think in like a 5, 6 minute fight, I think it was only like 500 DPS or something. That's what it actually ends up being, like 4 to 500 DPS. So it's not like absolutely massive. I mean, it's definitely a good chunk of DPS, but it's not like,
And I'm assuming the shorter the fight,
yeah, the
better.
higher it is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And now the big thing with Fury this expansion was the fact that, well, let's go back a little further. One of the greatest things about Wrath was the introduction of Titan's Grip, the fact that you can dual wield two-handed weapons. I know personally I thought that was amazing. I had a lot of fun with that. Um, what do you think about Titan's Grip, and what do you think about the fact that Single-Minded Fury was introduced in Cataclysm?
I Single on Fury was a lot of fun. I think early on in T11, Single on Fury was VIS. So because you had more rage gen with Single Minded Fury than you did with two-handers.
Mhm.
And I actually enjoyed Single Minded Fury a lot. Then it basically it made it easier to where like Single Minded Fury you didn't have to worry about saving your Berserker Rage for when you don't have it in Rage. With Single Minded Fury you could pretty much use it whenever you wanted because Raging Blow wasn't really a big damage component for Single Minded Fury. So I mean that gained you a decent amount of Rage every 30 seconds. I think it's like 7-8 Rage every 30 seconds just from that.
Right.
24 seconds. But yeah, I definitely like Single Minded Fury, and I definitely like Titan's Grip. I mean, obviously Titan's Grip's been best since T11, all through T12 and whatnot, because of Hand of Rag and now Girth, and just how hard the weapons are hitting compared, and how much stats you're getting from these two-handers. Titan's Grip has pulled ahead. So
Now, you obviously prefer Fury over Arms. Do you prefer Single-Minded over Titan's Grip, or is like what factors into like obviously it's farm time right now.
yeah.
What factors into what you want to play? Like, would you do Single-Minded Fury with what the Soul Drinkers, I believe?
I mean, I would probably try it. I haven't really bothered taking them because I mean, I'm playing Fury as is, and it's already a nerf spec. So I mean, at this whole tier, I really haven't cared about trying to parse it all. I mean, all through Firelands, like during Firelands farm and stuff, I was all about going for parses. I mean, I've held number one on Shanox, Rag, Belrock, like 3 or 4 different times on each of those fights. And that's pretty much what kept me interested during that. But all through DS, we've basically been doing, 3 8 out of 8 25-man hardmount groups. And now we're doing 3 plus 2 extra 10-mans, and we're talking about adding another 25-man. So we really don't have any. Sorry, one sec.
No worries.
I don't even remember what I was saying now.
I think you were basically saying you guys don't really have the raids
Yeah,
to like
the parse,
you don't
yeah,
have
to
parsing raids
groups,
anymore.
yeah.
You just
Yeah.
have raids, and it's
Yeah.
difficult to parse when you're playing with alts. Not that the alts aren't geared, but you know what I mean. It's not a.
Yeah, it's not the
It's
same.
not
yeah.
really. It's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a 1 minute slower kill, and that's that's massive on your DPS.
Now, I mean, the fact that obviously you pulled a lot of parses back when, that mattered to not only you, but probably the warrior group community. What do you do to do research on your warrior and what's best and what isn't? Tell us about that.
Uh, Obviously, read a lot of EJ. I mean, it's definitely not the absolute best site that you can read. Well, it is probably the best site you can read as now
Right.
because there's really nothing else. And as far as I read a lot of the theory crafting that people post. Obviously, a lot of people know Lancel, and as hilarious as it is, I actually used to use his spreadsheet all the time. I mean, now it doesn't matter so much because the gear that you need is pretty straightforward. There's really no there's no random pieces anymore. It's just exactly what's BIS because that's the only option. There's no other option. So and then as far as learning how to do the class, I mean it's pretty much been the same since the beginning of Kata. I read a lot of EJ. I mean I still read it every once in a while, check up to see if there's any new developments and all that. But I don't really do my own theory crafting, to be honest. I don't really. I mean, Sinner is a guy who does that a lot more. I think Sinner does a lot of his own theory crafting, and he's always checking up on stuff like that. So, maybe I'll just bounce ideas off of Sinner and see what he says.
What does that entail? Like running simulations and things like that?
Yeah, I think that's what he does. I mean,
You're not
like I
into
said,
that? Not doing
no, yeah,
simulations?
yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't really bother with that too much. I used to use, like I said, Lancel spreadsheet for all that stuff, but it's pretty straightforward now on what you're supposed to be using.
Nice. My theory crafting was I would ask Sarita what to do, and now I ask you, but Sinner's a lot nicer outside of the ganking, so I ask him now. So no offense. Plus, you don't play arms. You're hating on arms all day. What is
Yeah.
that about?
Dude, I just don't enjoy it, man. Arms isn't fun to me.
Dude, I remember I went arms in tier 11 because I was terrible at Fury. And I was starting doing good with the arms, and then
Yeah,
you're
I'm
like,
arms.
"Oh, let me." I'm like, "Dude, you gotta try this, Jimmy." And then like the first day you got it, you like matched all my DPS. I'm like, "What the hell, man?
Yeah.
This guy's first time trying it."
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had no clue what I was doing that time. I was just smashing buttons, and it was doing good DPS.
Dude,
It was actually
most of
fun. I
my
mean, I
damage
enjoyed
was
playing
slam.
it.
I was just slamming all day.
Yeah,
Yeah, like cause one of the nerfs. I don't know if you guys know. Between after tier 11 and Firelands, there were two major nerfs. Well, three. There's a lot. I'll go over them, I guess. Number one, instead of 20% 200 damage, they dropped it to like 8 or 12 or something like that. Two, you can't use recklessness with deadly calm. That was brutal. This was a bug they fixed, but again, it still hurt our DPS where you can't charge bosses anymore from melee. Some bosses, their hitbox are in a way that you can charge them, which allowed you to essentially keep your enrage up with the Juggernaut, crit buff. The big one that I hated was Overpower's global cooldown was reduced or increased from 1 second to 1.5. What that did for me was if I wanted to get 2 slams, an Overpower, and a Mortal Strike within a Colossal Smash, I'd have to make sure my last hit isn't a slam because the cast time delays it. And then obviously you could do trying to get 2 overpowers in, but either way, to make it easier for you before. But like that global also dumped on it. Yeah, in late tier 11, when they did that, that's when I really got into arms. Sinner makes a good point. Where Mortal Strike refreshed Rend, that was a big one. I liked that a lot.
huge.
That was really helpful to the DPS, and I think didn't they buff it from they buffed it to 20 during tier 11 because I remember arms they buffed midway through tier 11 or something like that. But I do remember on Sinestro I had a lot of fun padding, even though you did more damage than me single target
On the
Sinestro.
boss, yeah.
Just because of the buff, but I didn't care. I was AoEing everything. It was good times. Let's talk about Miss. You mentioned you like some of the arms changes from Miss. It's going to be less clunky. Have you gotten a chance to get your hands on Warrior in beta, or have you just been doing some reading?
I've actually got beta. I opened it up, I set up my specs, and I logged out and haven't been back. So I definitely
Good job.
they're still making changes, so nothing's set in stone, and I'm not able to use the main ability that I want to be able to use as Avatar. I want to test that out so badly, so I haven't been in a real rush to go test everything. But you know, probably here pretty soon. We've been obviously really busy with a lot of the raids that we do, but yeah, I plan on trying to test that out. But I've been reading, and Sinner's been talking to me a lot. Sinner's been messaging me. Like I said, Sinner pretty much is super nerd with a lot of this stuff. So
Yeah, he's a
I've been
huge
talking to
nerd.
him. Been talking to him about most of this, and yeah, arms. I mean, it looks so much more fun than it does now. I mean, it looks like a spec that I could see myself playing all the time.
Okay.
Um, I
And what
think
do you
they're
think
the,
of like the talents, the obviously the new system where you pick abilities and you don't have everything available to you for every spec? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's cool. It's going to make the abilities a lot more unique. There's definitely going to be a lot more decision put into them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely going to be something that you change, you know, fight to fight, like a glyph, basically. You know, if a fight has ads, take Bladestorm. If a fight doesn't have ads, take something else, you know?
Right.
I think it's going to be that kind of thing. It's definitely a big change for a while, though. It's definitely a big change. So, like, I mean, I guess we'll see how it actually ends up, you know, working out on live. Some of the classes don't look near as fun as other classes. Some of the classes look, you know, pretty plain. There's not a lot of things, but I definitely feel like there's gonna be a lot of more buttons that I gotta fucking find binds for, because I'm pretty much already out of binding spots. So I might have to go affinity mode and go buy like a Naga.
I don't know. Is that like the thing Rig uses, or is it something else?
That's just like the thing Affinity uses, or I mean, quite a few people use it. It's basically like it's like 8-9 buttons on your mouse or something. That way you have more.
Oh,
Yeah, that.
yeah.
So
We'll see. I don't know. I like my standard mouse and keyboard.
yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I use right now.
It's
But
hard for
yeah.
me to. I don't know.
At least-
Then I'll be thinking what button am I pressing on my phone. I guess you gotta get
Yeah.
used to it.
Yeah, once you get used to it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I mean, they're adding so many new abilities though too. I mean, you gotta think about everything they're adding. I mean, I guess they're taking out some too. So I guess we'll see how it is.
Right. Now, what is your? Sorry, 1 second. Tell us about. Well, one of the most important things for me has been transmogging. I like my gear to match. That's just how I work. What is your take on that?
I definitely think transmog was a really good idea, and I definitely think there's definitely some unique stuff that people put together. And I have a set that I want to put together, but the set I want to put together is like the rarest items you've ever seen. They like drop from like AQ40 trash at like a 0.01% chance, like this exalt.